In a survey that I sent out recently, 44% of people said that falling into old patterns is the number one reason why they can't seem to make their healthy habits stick. This is related to the habit bottleneck that we're going to talk about today. I call this bottleneck the off-the-wagon misunderstanding. I'm not talking about drinking alcohol, as this expression is often used. Maybe you recognize this situation. Day after I was one of the speakers on an online discussion panel. Although the event was very well organized and very introvert friendly, it still took a lot out of me in terms of energy. And I really didn't feel like working the next day. In the past, I used to dismiss the tiredness. You look at your to do list and there's this slight panic that if you take a day off, which might be what you actually need, you will never make up for the lost time. What a lot of people do is they push themselves through the tiredness and just go for that to do list anyway. But oftentimes, for introverts who have a lot going on, pushing themselves through in times like this usually makes matters worse. For example, it can take twice as long to do any of the things that you usually do, and they end up exhausted at the end of the day. That's when we end up doom scrolling or binge watching TV, go to bed late, and then being too tired the next day to do anything useful. So, one quote unquote bad habit would lead to another one. One of my clients calls this a negative snowball effect. So, in today's chapter of the podcast, I want to talk to you about this habit bottleneck and that feeling of falling into those old patterns. We're going to talk about how the off the wagon misunderstanding can get in the way of managing your personal energy and what introverts can do to remove this bottleneck. Welcome to Productive Introvert Community Podcast. Hi, I'm Mariela. I help introverts who work from home to have more energy and improve focus without habits that feel forced or only last 2 weeks. On this podcast, I share the things that I'm researching and that I'm learning on my mission to understand what introverts really need to feel energized and to do the things that are important to them. I'll share with you some of the science behind these ideas and everyday examples that might inspire you to live a healthier, happier life. You've probably felt like you've fallen off the wagon before. When we talk about energy management, it can feel like you're constantly exhausted and drained. What makes it worse is then when you look around you, everyone else seems to have it all under control. But I can assure you that everyone has run into this habit bottleneck in their life. It may be in a different area than what's hard for you right now. And it may be in an area that's not very visible. But we've all had issues with this. It's when things feel really chaotic and it's really hard to stay on top of things. The off the wagon misunderstanding often happens in those tough and chaotic times. It can take up a lot of energy, and we're quicker to fall into those old patterns when our energy is used up in this way. It can happen when you're trying to learn a new habit, like replacing a behavior that you no longer want with another behavior that you do want. It can happen when your circumstances have changed. For example, when you've moved house, or when your kid just started school, or starting daycare, or you're starting a new job or a new project. It can happen when you've done something that's really draining to your energy and you're trying to keep everything together. In a recent survey that I sent out, 44% of people across different platforms said that falling back into those old patterns is the thing that they struggle with the most. The hardest thing about this is that a lot of people lose faith in themselves. One of my past clients said that she struggled with unpredictable energy levels so much that she'd lost trust in her own ability to manage her energy. The mistake that many people make with this habit bottleneck is that they think that the off the wagon situation is all there is. When they slip up, that is a confirmation, it's all that's in store for them. You start wondering what's wrong with you and why you're just not disciplined enough. Nothing could be further from the truth. The reason why I call this the off the wagon misunderstanding is because we misunderstand that when we've fallen off the wagon, we can never get back on. That can lead to that feeling of losing trust and losing faith in your own ability to manage things. Instead, imagine flowing from one bottle to the next, and the bottles have narrow necks in between. So when you're going down the narrow neck, the bottleneck, it feels hard. Things slow down a bit. It can be frustrating. But once you come out of the bottleneck, you have more space and things start flowing easily again. The nice thing about habit bottlenecks are temporary. When you feel like you've fallen into old patterns again, it doesn't mean that that's where you're meant to stay. If that was the case, none of us would ever learn how to walk, how to read or write. None of us would ever learn a new language or a new craft. Falling into old patterns just means that you're going through the narrow habit bottleneck on your way out of the bottle. When you realize that this is a temporary situation. You're not going to be here forever. Then you can shift your focus. When things are really chaotic, or we're going through a time that is asking a lot of energy, then shifting your focus to simple habits that recharge your energy is key. If you think about it, I bet there are habits that you already have that help you to relax and to find your center in tough times. Focusing on these types of habits can help you to get through that bottleneck more easily. There's one particular area in your life that helps you to recharge your energy easily. I like to call this your peace of mind area. To figure out your peace of mind area, ask yourself, what's an area of my life that when that's taken care of, I feel calm, confident, and ready to tackle other things? Oftentimes, when that particular area isn't taken care of, it keeps popping up in your head, and it's like a worry in the back of your head. For some people, it's their finances. When they have a clear overview of their finances, they feel calm. For others, it's exercise. When they've had their workout for the week or the day, they're ready to tackle all the other things. For others, it's organizing. When their home or even just their desk is not calm, is clean and organized, they feel good. And when it's not, it's like an itch that you can't scratch. Here's a personal example. I make myself a cup of coffee. It's something that I do almost every day, and it just feels good. When I'm going through a particularly chaotic or tiring time, I like to make myself soul food. Sometimes it can be something decadent, but a lot of the times it's something simple like soup. I happen to love soup, and I have a couple of recipes that are absolute soul food for me. Maybe you guessed it. My peace of mind area is food. When the food isn't sorted, I'll keep coming back to it in my mind. I'll feel stressed, and I'll feel stressed about other things too. Whereas when the food in our household is taken care of, it brings me peace of mind, and I'll happily bounce around doing all sorts of things. I won't go into how exactly I organize this right now. If you're interested to hear about that, let me know by leaving a comment or by filling in the form in the description, and I can give you more details on that. But in general, it's about having a general idea of recipes throughout the week. I'm very flexible with those, so it's not a very strict schedule. It just gives me a little bit of a guideline. It's things like groceries and snacks. So your peace of mind area could be anything, and it's very personal to you. But figuring out what your peace of mind area is and what habits go with that will help you to know what to focus on and to decompress from all that chaotic energy and to recharge so that you can get through the habit bottleneck more easily. When it comes to energy management for introverts, recharging is key, and we don't always make a lot of space for that. It's important to realize that recharging goes beyond sleep. So, yes, sleep is important, but it's only one of the ways that we recharge. And especially for introverts, having quiet pockets during the day, doing activities that personally bring you energy and joy is really, really an important way to recharge. So, that was a little bit about the off the wagon misunderstanding, one of 5 common habit bottlenecks. I hope you found this helpful. Please share it with someone who you think might find this helpful too. Thank you for hanging out with me today, and let's talk soon. Bye.